Chris Christie went on Hugh Hewitt's radio show, which is a funny sentence to say because Chris Christie is two first names in the name, and then Hugh Hewitt. I guess it's a conservative thing. It's just weird. And he was asked about his position on marijuana policy, and he gave an answer straight out of the 1950s.
On domestic law, you were a United States prosecutor for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Right now, we've got the states of Colorado and Washington flaunting federal law by allowing people to sell dope legally. If you're the president of the United States, are you going to enforce the federal drug laws in those states?
Absolutely. I will crack down and not permit it.
All right, next.
Marijuana is a gateway drug. We have an enormous addiction problem in this country, and we need to send very clear leadership from the White House on down through federal law enforcement. Marijuana is an illegal drug under federal law, and the states should not be permitted to sell it and profit from it.
Okay, step aside. Thanks for playing. We don't want you to be president. I mean, listen to that answer. Now, here's why it's really scary, actually. Because under federal law, as it exists right now, he'd be perfectly fine to do that. In fact, it's the right thing to do according to the federal law right now as it stands. See, this is what people don't get about the way the law works in America. How we have a system where federal law overrides state law, and when there's a conflict or a contradiction between the two, you have the supremacy clause of the Constitution, which says that federal law supersedes. So what you have is a situation where on the federal level, marijuana is illegal, not just for recreational uses, but for medicinal uses. So not only all the states that have legal recreational weed, like Colorado, for example, and Washington, not only are they in trouble, and they could just get the hammer dropped down on them at any second from a federal government that just changes their mind like that, but also all the states that have medicinal weed. Now, in those states, there are a lot of people who are using the medicinal weed, not just recreationally. There are a lot of people who need medicinal marijuana. So if Chris Christie becomes president of the United States, and he really does enforce federal law like he's saying right there, I will, quote, crack down and not permit it, well then, we're Fucksville, son. I mean, think about it. Everybody could get locked up if they're smoking recreational weed. They could just throw you in jail, throw you in a cage, and let you rot there for a very long time. But even if you have fucking cancer or some other medical condition where you need marijuana, seizures, you know how they have the CBD oil that a lot of kids have needed when that a lot of kids need when they have epilepsy or other conditions where they have seizures constantly and nothing else works. And some of these kids, it doesn't even get you high, the CBD oil, but it is technically still illegal under federal law. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to take a kid who has seizures and need the medicine, and you're going to lock him up? Now, I understand you might say, come on, he's not going to go that far. I mean, he did something similar in his state. There was a family with a kid that had seizures that went to Chris Christie and said, look, we live in New Jersey. This is our home. We want to stay here, but we need the medicinal oils for our kid because the kid won't stop having seizures. Is the only way to get help. Will you change the laws for us? Will you fight for that? He didn't. So now that family had to move from New Jersey, and they went to a place where they can get the oils. They had to uproot their whole life and move because Chris Christie's an asshole who wouldn't listen to their concerns, the concerns of his constituents, who said, our kid is fucked. Can you please let us have the oils? I mean, it doesn't even get them high. It's just the oils as a medicinal treatment. Chris Christie said no. So we're looking at a guy here, man. He's not bright, Like, he's one of those guys who he masks everything he does as like, I'm a straight shooter and I tell it like it is. But what he really is a xenophobe. And he's a bigot in the sense of the word that he's just married to his own opinions, and he's not flexible on those opinions. He's going to comment on the vices of other people. Oh, you like to smoke marijuana? You should be put in jail. Well, fuck you. How fat were you before you got your stomach cut in half surgically? Would you like it if the government came up to you and said, hey, lay off the fucking Twinkies and the yodels, bitch. What are you doing? well, you're eating yourself into an early grave here. You better stop it. We're going to force you to stop it because we're the government. We're the law. You're not allowed to do something that we don't approve of. You're that guy, but then you're going to turn around and say, hey, put down that fucking joint because I say so. Fuck off, man. And there's so many contradictions in conservative Republican ideology that are just comical that I was able to spot when I was like 14 years old and I was looking at the different political ideologies and what they stand for. These are the people who scream about small government and personal responsibility and get the government out of my life. I don't want them making decisions for me. And then in the next breath they're like, we must ban marijuana because it's so bad and like we should make the decision for everybody and we'll lock you up if you do it. Well, what the fuck happened to personal responsibility and make your own decisions and get the government off my back? That's gone whenever it's an issue where you disagree with that. They do the same thing with socialism, right? Oh, so pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No welfare for you people, especially black people, but no welfare for any of you guys. And then what do? They turn around, and Chris Christie's done this himself, where he's given massive corporate welfare checks to businesses, to corporations, to set up shop in New Jersey, and they promised to create thousands of jobs, and he just handed them taxpayer money. Here, take the money. Here, welfare for you. Now, please just hire some people. They didn't even do it. One of them was Campbell's Soup. We covered the story a while ago. There were other corporations as well where he paid them massive corporate welfare checks to stay in New Jersey and set up shop, but he ended up just giving them the money, and they didn't even hire the people they promised to hire. So there's just contradictions all over the place, and the main takeaway here is this is why we need to legalize weed on a federal level. Democrats, get on it. Obama, buckle down and do more. Yes, he released some nonviolent drug offenders recently. He pardoned them or he commuted their sentences. That's great. I applaud him for that. Well done. Yes, the Obama administration has started to lay off now on more marijuana prosecutions. I applaud you for that. Well done. But that's not enough. Unless you change the federal laws and change the categorization, the schedule of the drug that marijuana is at Schedule 1, which is absurd, well, then we're going to have eventually a President Paul Ryan or Marco Rubio or Chris Christie or some other fucking asshole who gets in there. Even a Democratic president, we don't know. There might be some Democratic president who's anti-weed and, doesn't speak about it much or whatever. Somebody can come in and just, boom, it's over. The experiment in Colorado is over. The experiment in Washington is over. Everywhere else in America where they're trying to legalize, done. Not even medicinal weed. Why? Because I say so, because the laws allow me to do it. Change the goddamn laws and handcuff Chris Christie so that if he gets into office, he doesn't get to fuck over everybody and their mother.